Welcome to the Sell More, Live More webinar. I'm Chris Paulino, VP of Sales here at IMR, and this is the same sales process that I used when I was in dealership sales to make six figures annually and to also be one of the top salespeople across the nation for my product line. So if you are a dealership salesperson and you're selling cars or RVs or whatever you're selling, you can use this sales process to get more efficient and to increase that closing percentage and to also decrease your sales process length so that you can put more units on the board year after year. So if you're ready to sell more units at your dealership, let's dive right in. The first thing that you need to figure out if you're a dealership salesperson is, what is my goal? What is my target? What income do I want to make on an annual basis? And that's the first thing that you need to figure out. So I know when I was in dealership sales, my goal was six figures. And I know that's a lot of people's goal in the dealership sales setting. So that's what we're going to use. Now I would say that if my goal is $100,000 to maybe use $120,000 or $150,000 so that if we shoot or if we hit a little lower than what our goal is, we actually still kind of reach our goal. But nonetheless, with this formula, we're going to use our desired salary as $100,000. So our desired salary is $100,000. And the next thing we need to do is divide that by the average commission per unit. So this is going to fluctuate depending on your pay scale at your dealership or depending on what your commission is per car or per unit. But what we're going to use is we're going to say that we make $200 per car per unit that we sell for this example. So average commission per unit, $200. And now what we need to do is, we need to pull out our calculator and do the math, right? So if we want to make $100,000 per year and our average commission is $200 per unit, then we're going to divide our desired salary, $100,000, by $200, our average commission. And that means that we're going to have to sell 500 units per year to reach our desired goal of $100,000 or six figures at our dealership. So we have to sell 500 units per year. So 500 units per year. Now what we need to do is we need to figure out how many units that is per week, because we want to take our goal and our target and we want to get them to kind of more tangible and smaller increments so that we can focus on a daily basis on how many units I have to sell per day to reach my goal. So the first thing we have to do is figure out how many we have to sell per week, okay? So 500 units per year divided by, now in this example, we're going to use 52 weeks. We're going to say that we're going to work every week of the year 52 weeks. But if we know that we're going to take 2 weeks off and we're only going to be working 50 weeks this year, then we would change 52 to 50. So depending on however many weeks you work, but we're going to say for this example, we're working every week of the year. So 500 units a year divided by 52 weeks in a year means we have to sell 9.6 units a week We have to sell 9.6 units a week to be able to reach our goal of 500 units a year that will get us $100,000 in annual salary. Okay, so again, what we're going to do now that we have our weekly number is we're going to figure out how many units we have to sell per day. Because if I can figure out what I have to sell per day, then I can focus on getting that many write-ups or that many closes or whatever the case is so that I can reach my daily goal, so that I can reach my annual goal of $100,000 in income. So we are going to take 9.6, the number of sales needed per week, and we're going to divide that by 5 days. We're going to say that we're going to work 5 days a week. Every week that we're in, every week of the year, we're going to work 5 days a week to reach our goal of $100,000 a year. So with those 5 days a week, we take our 9.6 sales needed per week, we divide that by the 5 days that we're going to work a week, and that means we have to sell 1.9 units a day to reach our goal of 500 units a year. So now that we know that we have to sell 1.9 units per day to reach our income target of $100,000 in a year, then that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus, how many write-ups do I need? How many customers do I need to talk to? How much activity do I need to do daily to get 1.9 units sold per day? Okay, so the way that we're going to do that is we got to figure out what our closing percentage is. Okay, so if our closing percentage, we'll say that we're a newer salesperson and our closing percentage is 20%. So 20% of the time that we have a write-up, we actually get a deal closed and over the curb. We actually get something sold. 20% of the time, that's a deal goes over the curb. So our closing rate is 20%. So we're going to take our sales needed per day, which is 1.9, and we're going to divide that by our closing percentage. So the way percentages work, if our closing percentage is 20%, then we're going to use a decimal 0.2, and that's what we're going to divide our 1.9, our sales needed per day, to figure out how many write-ups we need to do daily to get our sales goal of 1.9 units a day. So we do 1.9 divided by 20%. So 1.9 divided by 20%, that's 9.6 write-ups needed. So if we have a 20% closing percentage, and we need to get 1.9 units out per day, then that means we need 9.6 write-ups a day to be able to reach our goal. Now, I know a lot of salespeople out there probably don't get 9 write-ups out a day, 10 write-ups out a day, and that's probably why you're not reaching your income goals at your dealership. So it's a big thing to do to figure out the math and really put a tangible number to what is actually going to help me reach my goal of, $100,000 a year or whatever your income goal is. Okay, so we're going to take this a step further, because the two main things that are going to help you increase the amount of sales you have per day is by increasing your closing percentage. So when you get a 50% closing percentage, that's going to help you get more deals out per day. So you have to get better at your sales process. The next thing that's going to help you is, your sales process length, because, if it takes you an hour to get a customer from A to Z and get them closed, and you work 8 hours a day, which is what we'll look at in a second, then it's going to be different than if it takes you 30 minutes or 45 minutes to be able to do that same kind of sales process. Okay, so that's the two biggest things that are going to help you sell more units, is get more efficient in your sales process, close customers more quickly, and also decrease the amount of time you spend with your customers so that you can talk to more customers a day, in turn getting out more write-ups, and then also we'll transition into more sales annually. So we'll use that example of, we use our sales process length as 1 hour. Okay, so what that means is, if we have 8-hour workday and we divide that by 1 hour, So we can do one sale an hour essentially. That means that we can do 8 sales in a day. Or 8 write-ups in a day. Okay, so what you're going to see here is the math doesn't line up. We need to be able to do 9.6 write-ups needed a day to be able to reach our goal of 500 units a year, right? But if my sales process is an hour long, then that means I don't have enough time in the day to actually reach my goal. And this is why it's very important to go through this math, to go through the kind of, well, really just to go through the math so that you can see what you actually need to do on a daily basis to reach your income goals of, say, 6 figures or whatever your income goal is at your dealership. Now you're saying, well, man, I'm kind of screwed here because, I don't have enough time in the day to reach my goal. How do I fix that? Well, the way that you're going to fix that is by, one, decreasing the amount of sales process length. So if you were to change this from 1 hour to a half hour, okay, if you were to decrease your sales process length from 1 hour to a half hour, then that means you'd be able to do 16 write-ups. You'd be able to do 16 write-ups a day, which would allow you to reach your goal of 9.6 write-ups a day to get your $100,000 a year, right? So how are we going to decrease our sales process length? Well, practicing, training, educating ourselves on the sales process daily, and taking each and every customer through the same sales process. When you have a whimsical sales process, like a lot of new salespeople have in dealerships, then what happens is you kind of spend your time, you waste time. You're walking around the dealership or you're walking around the lot, you're showing more cars than you should, you're taking your customer on a longer test drive than they should go on. You're not asking the right questions, so when you get to the write-up and we get to the numbers, they don't match what your customer needs, so then you have to go back to the write-up, or you have to go back and look at a lower, cheaper product or a more expensive product, or whatever the case is. So when you don't have that sales process dialed in and you don't have a sales process that you continually follow and continually get better at, it makes it harder for you to decrease the amount of sales process length you have in each deal. So that's one of the big reasons to follow a program like Sell More, Live More, is so that you can have a process that you build upon on a daily basis so that you can decrease the sales process length so that you can talk to more customers and get more write-ups out daily, weekly, and yearly. The next thing that we can address is our closing percentage. Because if our closing percentage were to jump from 20% to, say, 50%, then what would happen is our numbers would change. So for this example, if we did the same thing, 1.9 units we need per day, but our closing percentage now jumps to 50%, then that means we only need 3.8. Now, we would only need 3.8 write-ups a day to be able to reach our goal of 500 units a year, to reach our income goal of 6 figures or $100,000 at my dealership with an average commission of $200 per unit. So you can see how it's a big deal, right? How are we going to increase our closing percentage? The answer, training, educating, and going through the same sales process day in and day out so that we can continually build on it and get better. If we're one of them salespeople that kind of just show up and, go by the seat of our pants, and every deal is different and every process is different, and this deal took 2 hours, this one took 30 minutes, this one took an hour, this one took 4 hours. If we don't have a true way to measure what we're doing as a salesperson and improving on that process, then we're never going to be able to reach our income goals, because we're not going to have the right time or the right equation or the right formula to be able to do that. So the first thing you need to do to be able to figure out, how am I going to reach my goals of 6 figures at my dealership is, well, do the math. Figure out how many units it's going to take you per day at your closing percentage to be able to reach your goals. And once you figure that out, once you figure out that it's 1.9 units per day to reach your goal or whatever it is, now you can focus on increasing your knowledge, increasing your sales process, increasing your closing rate, and increasing your activity, and doing those things that you need to do on a daily basis to reach your daily goal. And when you reach your daily goal, day in and day out, then that is going to guarantee you as a salesperson that you're going to reach your income goal of $100,000. Now we take that a step further and we increase our sales process, we decrease our sales process length, and who knows, maybe that $100,000 turns into $150,000 and we smashed our goal, right? So that's going to be the goal here, is use the Sell More, Live More training to increase your sales process so that you can get better at closing the deal, and also use the Sell More, Live More sales process to decrease the amount of sales time, the amount of time you spend with your customers, so that you can get more deals done on an annual basis. Let's dive into the training. All right, now that we have our math figured out, when we know how many write-ups we need on a daily basis to reach our income goals, now we need to focus on getting that amount of daily write-ups and focus on increasing our closing percentage, so getting better at the sales process. And we also got to focus on getting quicker at our sales process so that we can see more customers in a day. Okay, now I know you guys are going to take copious notes and you guys are going to remember everything in this webinar, but I'd be lying to say that that's going to be the facts. The facts are is you're going to watch this webinar and you're going to take good notes and you have a good memory, I'm sure, but you're probably going to forget most of it. So I want you to focus on remembering these 4 things, okay? Because these 4 things are going to help you get over objections, close more deals, get in front of more customers, and get better at all of these things that I'm talking about. So the first thing I want you to remember is set your intentions early and explain your buying process. Number 2, find your customers' rewards and find out what your customers' emotions are by asking who, what, when, where, why, and how. Number 3, I want you to 100% of the time get a write-up from your customer. So 100% write-ups is what I like to call it. And I also want you to close and product demo towards your customers' rewards and emotions. And number 4 is overcome your objections by looping back. All right, now we're going to go over what all this stuff means through this webinar, but those are the 4 things that I want you to focus on and that we're going to reiterate through this webinar. But I want you to write that stuff down, because that's what, if you focus on those things specifically, is going to get you better at selling units week in and week out and going to get you closing more deals. So we're going to start at number 1, setting your intentions early and explaining your buying process. Now at your dealership, as you get walk-in leads or as you get call-in leads that you set appointments and you get them in, we're going to start the buying process or our sales process when they come through the door. And the first thing that I want you to do is set your intentions early and explain your buying process. So what that kind of sounds like is, when you're meeting someone for the first time, you're going to say, hi, my name's Chris. Welcome to XYZ dealership. How can I help you? Now they're going to say, hi, we're here to do this, we're here to do that, we're here to look at cars, we're not buying today. Whatever they say, it doesn't really matter, because all I want to do is introduce myself and introduce the dealership. Now the next thing I'm going to say after they give me their answer is going to ask them, well, let me ask you this. Have you ever bought from our dealership before? Okay, the reason I'm asking them this is because, again, I don't care if they say yes or no. I'm setting up the fact that I'm about to explain my buying process, and I'm about to set my intentions early after they give me their answer. So whether they say, yes, we've bought from here before, or no, we haven't bought from here, the next thing I'm going to say to them is something like this. Have you bought from our dealership before? They're going to say yes or no. Okay, great. So you know that our dealership, we're a one-price dealership. We give you the best price from the very beginning, so we don't haggle and negotiate our prices. What we like to do is we like to sit you down, learn exactly what you're looking for, learn your deepest desires in your next vehicle, learn all the bells and whistles, colors, just everything that you're going to need in your next vehicle. We're going to ask you how you're using it, what you're using it for, and learn how you're using your vehicle so that we can look through our inventory and find a vehicle that fits perfectly for you. Now, after we learn the vehicle you're looking for, what you need, the price, everything that goes into buying a vehicle, we're going to take a look at our products and see if there's a vehicle on our lot that matches your specific needs. And if there is, then we'll take you out, we'll show you that vehicle, you can take it on a test drive, we'll come back to the dealership, I'll put the numbers on paper, that way you'll know exactly what that car is going to cost you before you leave here. We'll even give you a roundabout monthly payment. And if all of that stuff meets your needs, your wants, your payment, your price, your budget, all that good stuff, then you'll buy the car. If it doesn't, no big deal. That's just kind of how we do business. Does that sound fair enough? Now, what you're doing by explaining your intentions, by setting your intentions early, and by explaining your buying process, is you're getting a micro agreement from your customer from the very beginning, saying that yes, they agree that your sales process is fair and that they agree to go through your sales process. Because when I tell a customer that, hey, this is my sales process, we sit you down, we talk to you, we ask who, what, when, where, why, how you're going to use your car, and then what we do is we look how much you're going to spend, all these different things that you need, all your hot buttons, all of your whatever. Once we figure that out, then I'm going to look at my inventory. I'm going to see if I have something that meets your needs specifically. If I do have something that meets your needs, we're going to take that out, test drive it. I'm going to demo it for you. I'm going to show you that product. I'm going to show you how that product fits your emotions, your rewards, your needs, and your wants. And then we're going to come back into the dealership. I'm going to sit you down. I'm going to show you the numbers on paper so that you know exactly what you need or exactly how much you'll have to pay to buy this car today and to make it yours. And so that way you as a customer have all the information you need to make an educated decision on if this car is right for me to buy today. And after I present you with all of this information, and after I figure out everything that you need and want, and I show you this car and this price and I do the write-up, after I do all of that, then you can decide if you want to buy the car. And if the car is perfect for you, you're going to buy it. And if it's not, no big deal. I wouldn't ask you to buy a car that's not perfect for you. Does that sound fair enough? Now, when you frame it like that, the customer has really no way not to agree. That's a fair sales process. As a salesperson, you need to know what the customers are using the car for, how they're using it, what they want, what they need, all these different things, so that you can present them with the right car. You need to know their payment, their budget, their money down, their credit score. All of these different things you need to know to present them with a car that fits their needs and their wants. So it's fair for you to ask those questions. It's fair for you to go dig deep and really figure this stuff out. Okay? And then the reason you explain your buying process is so that the customers, people don't like surprises. Okay? They don't want to go into a dealership and have no idea what they're going to go through. All right? They want those kind of questions answered right up front. The best way to overcome an objection is to address it before it's ever brought up. So by bringing up the fact that this is our buying process, this is how it goes, we learn everything, we do this, we do that, X, A, B to Z, then they're like, okay, that sounds fair, and now they're ready to go through that process. So now when you take them back and you sit them down and you ask who, what, when, where, why, in your interview and you qualify, they're ready to answer those questions. And when you take them to the product demo, they're ready to listen to you. And when you bring them back from the product demo, they're ready to look at the numbers because you've already explained to them that's the process that's going to happen. And then once you explain them the numbers, they understand that if it's the right car, you're going to ask them to buy it. right? So they understand all of these things in the first 2 minutes, 5 minutes that you meet them, and they agreed to go through that process. So now they agreed to go through it. Now we have less friction when we try to move them to the next step in the sales process. Okay, so it's a big deal to frame or to set your intentions early and to explain your buying process, because it's going to set up the whole rest of the sale. Okay, so again, this is an example of how you would set your intentions early and explain your buying process when you're meeting a customer that walks into your dealership for the first time. So they come up to you, you're greeting them, you shake their hand. Hi, my name's Chris. Welcome to XYZ dealership. How can I help you today? And they say, hey, thanks, Chris. We just came in to look at a couple cars. We're driving a 2009 Ford Fusion right now that we kind of like, but there's some things that, we would probably change about it. So we figured we'd stop by the dealership and take a look. Okay, great. That sounds awesome. Let me ask you this. Have you ever bought a car from our dealership before? And they're going to say something like, yeah, we've bought a car from our dealership, or no, we haven't. Again, it doesn't really matter what they say. We're waiting for their answer. So they're going to say, no, we've never bought a car from your dealership before. And then I'm going to come back, okay, great. Well, the way that we do business here at XYZ dealership is we're a one-price dealership. We give you the best price from the very beginning, so we don't haggle and negotiate. And the reason we give you the best price from the very beginning is, well, because it's 2019 and people can look in their phone right now and see the price of the exact cars that we have across the nation. And if we're not priced right, we'll never sell a car. So we give you the best price from the very beginning, okay? The next thing we like to do is we like to sit you down and learn how you're going to be using your car, what you're going to be using it for, why you're using it, and what you would like to change about your current car, so that I can look at my inventory and see if I have a vehicle that fits your needs or if I don't. Okay, and once I learn everything that you're looking for and I look at my inventory and I see if I have a couple units that fit your needs, what we'll do, if I do have some units, is we'll go take a look at 1 or 2 units, we'll test drive them, I'll demo them for you, and if we have the car that fits your needs at the right price, you'll buy it. If we don't, I won't even ask you to buy the car. Does that sound fair enough? Now, when you set that, frame it like that, and now that customer, they have no other thing to say besides, yeah, that sounds fair, because it's a fair sales process, and as humans, we inherently want to be fair to other humans. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do, we've framed them, we've set our intentions early, we explained our buying process. Now we have to interview and qualify our customer. So we're going to take them to our desk. Now I want you interviewing and qualifying these customers from your desk. Where you write them up at, where you put the numbers down on paper, that's where I want you to interview and qualify them at. Because I don't want the first time that you ask them to sign the purchase agreement, I don't want that to be the first time they're in your office. Right? So take them to where you're going to close them at. Take them to your office, and we're going to start to interview and qualify. Now, the biggest thing about interviewing and qualifying your customers is we have to ask open-ended questions that get them talking about their deepest needs, their deepest wants, their deepest desires. Customers are going to buy with emotion, and they're going to justify with logic. So the way to sell a vehicle or a car or a product or whatever you're selling is to find out your customer's deepest emotions, their deepest rewards, find out what really gets them going, and then sell towards those rewards, towards those emotions. Okay, so a great way to do that is by asking questions starting with who, what, when, where, why, and how. Okay, so for example, we get them back to our office, we meet them, we greet them, we set our intentions early, we explain our buying process, they say it sounds fair, we say follow me to my office, okay, we sit them down in our office, and now we're going to go through the interview and qualify process. One good place to start at a dealership is with the trade, okay, because if your customer, and most of them have a trade, most of them didn't walk to the dealership or get a bus, most of them drive in and they have something they're going to trade in, so that's a good place to start. Ask them, what are you driving right now? Do you have a trade, or is this going to be the first vehicle that you're buying? And they might say, yeah, I have a trade, it's a 2005 Ford Fusion, or whatever they say it's going to be, or no, I don't have a trade. But the reason we start there is, well, because one, as a salesperson, we need to know what their trade is because it's going to affect the cars that we show them. If they're upside down in their trade and they owe too much money on it or whatever the case is, then that means we might have to show them a lower priced vehicle so that we can put equity into the trade unit. Or, different things we have to do to structure the deal properly so that we can line up with their needs and their wants. Okay, so the trade's a perfect place to start. We're going to ask them things like, what would you change about your trade? How would you change your trade? What do you like about your trade? What do you dislike about your trade? How much is your trade on a monthly payment? How much money did you put down when you bought your trade? What do you use your car for? We can go on and on and on about this, but you can see if I use who, what, when, where, why, and how, all of my questions are going to be open-ended. And what that's going to do is it's going to get my potential customers, my clients, it's going to get them talking about what they care about, what their emotions are, what their rewards are, what their deepest desires are, and that's what we need to figure out as a salesperson. So we'll kind of go through a little role play here and get an example of how it should feel when you're interviewing qualifying. So we sit them down at our desk, we ask them, is this going to be your first vehicle or do you have something you're trading in? Well, we're trading in something. We got a 2009 Ford Fusion. We kind of like it. It's a good car for us. It's done its duties. There's a couple things that we would change about it, but for the most part, it's a good car. Okay, great. Let me ask you this. What would you change about your trade that you're driving now? Well, the big things we don't like about our trade is, there's not enough cup holders in the back. We have a couple kids, and then we also have cousins and nephews and things like that come into our car. So we need cup holders for them. When we originally bought the car, we weren't really thinking about cup holders, but now that we've been using it for a few years, we've realized we don't have enough cup holders in the back seat. So what happens is the kids, they have their drinks, they have their sodas from the fast food or whatever, and they're holding them in their laps, and then they squeeze them or they whatever, and then I get drinks and I get stuff spilled all over my back seat. So in the next car, I want to make sure I have a good amount of cup holders in the back seat. Another thing that we've noticed is there's no air vents in the back, so when I pick up my kids from sports or whatever the case is, or just from school or whatever, they don't have any air vents in the back, so it's a lot hotter in the back than it is in the front, and constantly my kids are yelling at me how they're hot. Turn down the AC and crank it up and this and that, and I'm freezing up front while my kids are screaming at me, so it's uncomfortable constantly in my car between me being cold or my kids screaming. So I want to make sure that we have vents that push air to the back of the vehicle. We want a car, we want something with better gas mileage because we drive a lot, so we don't want something that's going to, kill us on the gas. So we kind of like the Ford because of that. And I guess that's kind of pretty much everything that we would change. Now, I could stop right there and ask them, what else they would change, or, I could kind of dig a little deeper into, some of these questions and really find out their true emotions and their wants. And that's what I want you to do. A lot of bad salespeople, they stop at surface level and they don't want to go 2, 3, 4, 5 levels deep. So for example, how we can go deeper in this conversation here is, let me ask you this. Why is it a pain in the butt to not have cup holders? Well, like I said, my seats, they're not leather, so every time they spill them, I got stains in my back seat because, they're drinking orange pop and I don't have enough time and cleaner and all this stuff, and I got to stop and clean it up, and it's a big pain in the butt. And we've had this problem since the day that we bought it, and it doesn't annoy me. There's nothing more that annoys me than not having enough cup holders. Now, what you see here, even just going one extra level deep, you see how it's building irritation in the customer because now they're reliving experiences of how pop was spilled on the seats and how it stained the seats and how I can't clean it. I'm busy, I'm driving to work, or I'm driving to this place or that place, they spill something, now I have to stop, I have to get paper towels and napkins or whatever and clean it, and it never gets clean because they're not leather, and oh my God. So what's happening as I dig a little deeper, the customer's reliving these experiences, and it's getting them emotional about the purchase. They're thinking like, oh my gosh, it's such a pain in the butt not to have these cup holders. Okay, now we keep moving a little bit forward, now that we're past that. Okay, what else would you change about your car? Well, To be honest, the brakes on it, I mean, I know it's kind of old. That's probably why the brakes don't feel good. It's got 140,000 miles on it. So the brakes are pulsating. And, when I'm driving on the expressway at 80 miles an hour, I don't like to admit it, but I'm a little bit of a lead foot. So I drive fast. And what happens sometimes, just last week, someone slammed on their brakes in the expressway, and I had to slam mine on, and it didn't feel like the car was going to stop. They were pulsating. It felt like my foot was vibrating. It was really weird, and it kind of scared me because my family was in the car, and here I am slamming on the brakes. So, I want something with some good brakes. Other than that, I just want something dependable. I want something safe. It's a family car, so my kids are in it, my wife's in it, my husband in it, was whatever, and I just want to make sure it's safe for my family and it's going to do what we need it to do. Okay, great. Why was that scary for you on the expressway when your brakes were pulsating? Oh my God, I can't even explain to you, man. It was crazy. My brakes were pulsating and there was a semi-truck in front of me. I thought my car was going to run into the back of the semi-truck. My family's life flashed before my eyes. My kids were in the back seat. I looked back and I saw my kids' eyes light up and they were scared. So now I was even more scared. I'm sitting thinking like, oh my God, how good are these airbags? Dude, it was a horrible experience. Now you see, that's going 2 levels deep. Now I could even keep going. Let's go 3rd level deep. Well, how would you feel if the car that you had brakes weren't good enough and you lost your kid's life because of it? Right? Oh my God, that would be the worst thing ever. I couldn't imagine losing my kids because I didn't have adequate brakes on my car. That'd be the worst day of my life. Hopefully I die with them, because if I live that, I'll probably commit suicide. Right? And this is some of the things that people might think and might say, and maybe committing suicide is a little crazy. But what we're doing by digging past surface level and going 2 or 3 levels deep is we're stirring up the emotions in our customers that really get them seeing why they need to make a purchase today, why the car they're driving today is not adequate, and why they need to address these issues and move on to the next thing. Because if we don't get them realizing why their brakes are a big problem, or why their air conditioning, not having AC in the back, is a problem, or why not having cup holders is a problem, or if we let them move on the sale and they know that it's a problem, but we don't dig deep enough to get them to really live the problem, then it's not going to have the weight that we want it to when we go on to the close. Okay, so the biggest thing I can say for number 2 here, and find your customer rewards and emotions, is dig past surface level. Don't just ask, what do you want in your next car? They tell you 5 things and then you go right out to the dealership. When they tell you those 5 things, elaborate. Why do you want leather seats? Why do you want air conditioning in the back seat? Why do you want these things that you want? Oh, and these are the things that, okay, well, let me ask you this. Why do you want leather seats? Well, the reason I want leather seats is because, my kids, they spill stuff on the seat. So if they were leather, I'd be able to clean it up, so on and so forth. So you see how we can keep going with this pattern of who, what, when, where, and why. So what I want you to take away from this whole spiel is find your customers' true emotions, their true rewards, okay? Ask them who, what, when, where, and why, and dig past surface level on their emotions, on their awards. Ask them how they're going to be using it, why they're going to be using it, what it would mean to them if they didn't make these decisions, so that they can really be living the emotions of the purchase and realizing why they need to make a decision today. Number 3, once we realize, we've asked them who, what, when, where, why, we've interviewed them, we've qualified them, we've went past surface level, we've went 3 levels, 4 levels deep, and we have a good understanding of what our customers need and want. We know what their down payment is, we know what their trade is, we know what it's worth, we know what they're looking for, everything. We need to know everything. And once we know that, now we're going to take them on a product demo. We're going to take them on a test drive. And when we take them on this product and demo and test drive, our intentions are to get them back to the dealership, and we're going to write them up. One of the biggest things here with number 3 I want you to focus on is 100% of the customers that you feel you need to show a vehicle to after you interview and qualify them. So you interview, you qualify, you say in your mind, yes, we have a vehicle for them. Now, 100% of those people need to get a write-up. Because as we stated in the math portion in the beginning of this webinar, we need X amount of write-ups per day to reach our goal of our income goals and to be able to close the amount of people that we need to close. So if we talk to someone for 1 hour and we don't get them a write-up, that's a wasted hour, because nobody on your lot will ever buy a car without a write-up. Okay, if they come back next week and they say, yes, I want to buy this car, you're going to have to do a write-up next week when they buy it, right? So even if you think this customer is going to come back next week, and I'm not saying to let them come back next week because they need to buy the car today, but what I'm saying is they always need a write-up to buy the car. So do not go through a sales process and not give a write-up, because if you do that, you're increasing your sales process length, because now that sales process doesn't count. It doesn't count towards your goals. It doesn't count towards the numbers that we looked at in the math because you didn't get a write-up. Okay, so I cannot stress this enough. 100% of the customers that make it through your interview and qualify, that you're going to show a product to, that you're going to demo a product to, they need to get a write-up. Okay, now the next thing I want to focus on here, number 3, is while you're product demoing, while you're test driving, you need to be selling your product towards your customers' rewards and emotions. So the features and benefits of your vehicle need to be sold towards your customers' rewards and emotions. So we'll use the same couple as an example that kind of here that we're talking about in the webinar with the kids and the AC and all that good stuff. Now, if I was selling them their car, and let's say this car that I'm selling them has, good horsepower, it's the fastest one in the market, it's got the best track speed for its class, and all of these good things. I could show them this car and say, hey, this car's got the most horsepower in its class, it's got the best handling, it's perfect for you and your family. Okay, to them that doesn't mean anything. Now, is it cool that it's the best in its class at X or Y or the fastest? Or is it cool that it has the most horsepower? Yeah. But your customers don't care about that. They care about what they care about, okay? And what they care about is the things that you discovered in your interview and qualify. So the things that you discovered in your interview and qualify, those deep burning desires, those emotions, those rewards, those wants, those things that they truly want, those are the things that we have to sell towards. Okay, so for example, when I'm showing the features and benefits of my product. Okay, so this product here, it's got 4 cup holders in the back seat. So when you and your kids are traveling to your soccer games or coming home from school or doing whatever you're doing, you're going to have as many cup holders as you need so they can keep their drinks off of your seats. Okay, in addition to having the cup holders that you and your family needs, it also has the air vents in the back. So now, while you're driving home from these long 1 hour, 2 hour trips from these different places or whatever you guys are doing, you all will be comfortable. Your kids won't be hot. You won't be cold. The whole family is going to be comfortable driving around in this new car. In addition to that, it's all-wheel drive. The brakes are brand new and they stop like butter. So when your lead foot self is on the expressway and you're driving fast, passing everybody, and you have to slam on your brakes, this vehicle's stopping rating is the best in its class, and it's going to stop when you need it to. And if it doesn't, the airbags, the safety rating on this vehicle is the highest safety rating that you can get. So for your family, this is going to be the safest vehicle that you could possibly find on the market. In addition to fixing all of those problems that you're having now with your Ford Fusion, we can get it for you for probably roughly around the same price you're paying for your Ford Fusion. So you might as well trade that thing in today and buy this car today. Sound fair enough? Right, so now I'm closing towards my customers' rewards. You see, I pitched my features and benefits strictly to the things that I learned in my interview and qualify, at the things that they cared about. I'm not pitching all of these different things, and I'm not saying all of these different word tracks that don't mean much to the customer. I'm saying, listen, this vehicle is going to fix all your problems. It's going to make your kids happy. It's going to make you happy. You're going to be living a better life because you buy this vehicle today. Let's just buy it right now. Sound fair enough? Okay, now when you do that, when you close towards customer rewards, they're going to be more likely to buy your vehicle and make a decision today. Because as I've said multiple times, your customers are going to buy with emotion and they're going to justify with logic. So what's going to happen is they're going to say, yeah, you know what? It does fix all my problems. Now here's where the logic comes in my customer's mind. It does fix all my problems. And we're driving on those long road trips, the kids are going to be comfortable. So they're not going to be yelling at me and my husband or me and my wife. So then me and my husband and wife, we're going to be happier. So now we're going to be happier while we're traveling. And everyone's going to be happier. So they're going to be comfortable, we're going to be comfortable. The cup holders are there, so the kids will have places for their drinks, so we won't have to worry about them spilling things on their seats. So when we're driving these long drives that we drive, we don't have to worry about these issues that we're having in this Ford Focus. The Ford Focus, the brakes are going out, so the family's not safe. So if we buy this new car, the family's now going to be safe. We're going to have everything we need. It's for the same payment. Why wouldn't we buy it today? And then they're going to sign the dotted line. Right now, if you pitch them the horsepower and the all-wheel drive system and the color is a rare color and it's a limited edition color to this year, and you know all of the different things that you could pitch them, it's got aluminum wheels and the tires are great, and you know all of these different things you could pitch them, well, it doesn't matter because it's fallen on deaf ears. Okay, so we have to make sure that we're selling towards our customers' emotions and closing towards our customers' rewards. The fourth thing I want you to focus on is overcoming objections by looping back. Now, these steps 1 through 4, I wouldn't say they're in any reason because you're going to use 4, overcoming objections by losing back, maybe even in your greeting. Okay, so at some dealerships, what happens is you'll have people drive into the dealership and they'll drive around the lot and they'll look at cars without coming inside the doors, right? So you don't actually get to properly greet them and then take them to your desk. You have to walk out onto the lot, or you have to, say something to them while they're driving in their car. Okay, and that poses a problem for salespeople, especially if you can't get that person, that customer, off the lot back onto your desk so that you can interview and qualify them. You're never going to sell that customer a car. Okay, so the way that we're going to do that, the way we can use, overcoming objections by looping back is, let's say they're walking around the lot. Okay, we come out, we meet them on the lot. I introduce myself. Hi, my name's Chris. Welcome to XYZ dealership. How can I help you today? Oh, hey, listen, we just came around to, walk around the lot, take a look at some vehicles out here, and, that's what we're here for today. Okay, I hear what you're saying. Well, let me ask you this. Why not just come inside, sit down with me, let me ask you a couple questions, let me learn exactly what you're looking for. That way I can show you some vehicles that actually fit your needs. I mean, we got probably 300 vehicles around here, some of them more, some of them less. Some of them have these amenities, some of them don't. There's a lot of stuff around here, and you could be looking at vehicles that literally don't fit any of your needs. So come in with me, let's sit down, tell me what you're looking for, and I'll show you a couple of the cars on a lot that exactly fit your needs, and you can kind of go from there. Sound fair enough? Right? So what happened there was I looped back. What I mean by looping back is you're saying, I hear what you're saying, but this is why what you're saying doesn't make sense. I hear what you're saying, but this is why it doesn't make sense for you to sit around here and walk around the lot by yourself and look at every vehicle on my dealership. Right? Because at the end of the day, your customers, they don't want to waste time. You don't want to waste time. As humans, we don't want to waste time. So why would you want to waste your time walking around the lot when you could tell me what you're looking for? I could show you some vehicles, and then you can kind of go from there. Sound fair enough? And then you might say, well, I just came here to walk around, and I just want to look at some vehicles. So I'm just gonna walk around. Okay? Now I'm gonna use the same loop back to overcome that objection. Well, I hear what you're saying, but why do you want to waste your time walking around the lot? It's 90 degrees out here. It's blacktop. You're going to be sweating in 5 minutes. Come in with me in the AC, grab a bottle of water, sit down with me for 5 minutes. Let me ask you a couple questions: who, what, when, where, why, and how you're going to use it. I'll show you some vehicles that fit your needs perfectly, and I won't even ask you to buy it if it doesn't make sense for you. Sound fair enough? Now what's the customer going to say? They might say, Well, that sounds fair. Okay, fine, I'll go with you. Or they might say, no, no, listen, I just want to walk the lot. Okay? I want to waste my time. I want to walk the lot, whatever, whatever. Okay? How are we going to overcome that objection? Hey, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you this. And we're going to loop back. Okay, so that's what I want you to take from number 4 is pretty much this word track. I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you this. I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you this. Because what that's telling your customer is, not customers aren't always right. I know that everybody's heard the saying that your customer's always right, but that's not the case. Customers are wrong a lot of the time. Customers don't know your product like you do. They don't know the amenities. They know what they want. They know how they want it to function. They know what they're going to use it for. They know how they're going to use it, but they don't know what product, what car, whatever is going to get them there the best. That's what you know as a salesperson, right? So we don't want to agree with their objections. We don't want to say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Walk around. Take your time. Okay. Oh, okay, no problem. Just walk around. Come inside when you want me. That's what the bad salespeople say. I know we've all heard someone say that, maybe even said it ourselves, and no big deal. We all got to start somewhere and learn, right? But if we were to loop back and explain and say, hey, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you this. Why do you want to walk around and waste your time? Time is money, and the more time you walk around this lot looking at vehicles that don't fit your needs, the more money you're wasting. Come inside with me 5 minutes, sit down, let me ask you a couple questions so I can make sure that we even have a car that fits your needs. And if we have a car that fits your needs, then I'll show it to you. If we don't, I won't even ask you to buy. Sound fair enough? They're going to be like, yeah, that sounds fair. Okay, come with me. Now we just transitioned the customer that's walking around the lot into coming into the dealership, sitting down at our desk, and allowing them to interview and qualifying them. Okay, so number 4, using or looping back to overcome objections, doesn't just apply in the closing of the sale, it applies all the way through the sale. When you get an objection, whether it be the beginning, the end, during the close, wherever it is, use that word track. Hey, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you this. And then, what you're going to say back has to be something reasonable, right? It has to be something that makes sense, right? Because, for example, if you're walking around the lot and you're wasting time and it's 90 degrees out, it makes sense to come inside, spend 5 minutes with me, ask me some questions so I can point you in the right direction, and you don't have to sit in the heat. That makes sense. That's fair, right? So you have to make sure you're saying something back that's fair and reasonable. But as long as you say, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you this, something fair and reasonable, sound fair enough? Your customer almost have to say yes. They almost have to agree with you because human nature makes us want to be fair as human beings. Okay? So these are the 4 things that I want you to focus on as you're going through this webinar, as you're going through your daily sales there on your lot at your dealership. Focus on 1, setting intentions early and going through your buying process. Again, because what that's going to allow you to do is frame the rest of the sale. It's going to allow you to get a micro agreement in the beginning of your sale that your customer is saying, yes, I agree to go through the sales process with you. Yes, it's a fair process. Yes, you can do that, and I'll go along with you. So it's going to make it easier for you to get them in the interview and qualify. It's going to be easier to get you on the product demo and the test drive. It's going to be easier to get you on a close, get you a write-up, and get you through those points when you set your intentions early and explain your buying process. Number 2, when you're interviewing, qualifying your customers, you need to find their true customer rewards and their true emotions. Find out what really makes them tick. Dig past surface level. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels deep on certain questions if you have to, so that you can drum up that emotion that you have to drum up in your customers to get them to take action today. As I explained, squeaky brakes might not seem scary to me if I first think about, well, my brakes squeak. No big deal. Well, now if I say, well, why is it a big deal if your brakes squeak? Well, it's a big deal because if I drive fast, 80 miles an hour, blah, 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 then I could get in a wreck and I could die. Well, what would happen if you died? well, then I wouldn't be here, and then my family wouldn't have me as a father, and then my daughter would grow up without a dad, so on and so forth. Right? So you see how that emotion can really get drummed up as we get, certain levels deep. Now, I'm not saying to take it to those extreme levels, but what I want you to understand that's watching this webinar is we have to be willing to take it past level 1, take it 2, 3, 4, 5 levels deep. Okay, so finding our true customer rewards, finding out their emotions, finding out what makes them tick. Number 3, 100% of the time we need to do a write-up. So if they made it through your interview and qualify, and we're about to product demo, we're going to show them a car, we're going to show them a vehicle, we're going to take them on a test drive, we're going to show them something, then we need to be giving them a write-up as soon as we get back from that product demo. We don't demo a product and then not do a write-up, okay? Because if we don't do a write-up, we waste the sales process. It doesn't go towards our numbers because we literally just wasted an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of our time. We have no write-up, so there's no tangible way to create a sale, and now we're on to the next customer. So it's literally a waste of the dealership's time, it's a waste of your customer's time, it's a waste of your time. So any customer that you take on a demo needs a write-up. So again, 100% write-ups. Okay, that's what I want you to focus on. In addition to 100% write-ups, we need to close towards our customers' rewards. So you see that in 2 different steps. Finding our customers' emotions in step 2, finding their emotions, finding out what their rewards are. Step 3, closing towards their emotions, closing towards their rewards. Again, your customers are not going to care about all the bells and whistles of the car that don't actually address the problems, the issues that they explain to you in the interview and qualify. So if you're selling features and benefits of your vehicle that does not fix any of their problems, fix any of their emotions, address any of their rewards that you found in the interview qualify, then there's no reason to pitch it. Okay, so close towards your customers' emotions, close towards your customers' rewards. All right, so 100% write-ups, close towards customers' emotions, close towards customer rewards. And number 4, overcome objections by looping back. Now, again, this is going to be all the way through the sale. This is going to be the customer that you meet at the lot that's kicking tires, walking around the whole lot, wasting their time. You're going to use it to loop back and say, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you this. When we're closing our customers, we're going to use it to say, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you this. Why would you not buy this car today? If you drive that car off the lot with the messed up brakes with your family here with you, who knows what can happen? If you buy this car today, then you're going to have great brakes, you're going to have the cup holders, you're going to have the air conditioning, you're going to have the leather seats, you're going to have everything that you wanted fixed. That way you can be living a better life, your family can be living a better life, your kids can be living a better life, you're going to be living a safer life. It doesn't make sense for you to not buy this car. So I hear what you're saying, but buy this car anyway. Sound fair enough? Boom. Well, we need to go home and we need to sleep on it. We got to think about it. Well, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you this. Again, why would you go home? You're taking a risk of your family's life. You know this car is the right vehicle for you. Why not buy it today? Why keep wasting your time? Why keep traveling from dealership to dealership when the car that's right for you and your family is right here today? Buy the car right now. Sound fair enough? Well, no, we want to keep waiting. Well, I hear what you're saying, but, right, so we're going to loop back again. So it's a perfect way to overcome an objection, and I'm not hitting an objection head on, right? Because what happens a lot with salespeople is they say, oh, well, I hear it, but that objection doesn't make sense. And then the customer's thinking, well, it's my objection, it makes sense because it makes sense to me, and I don't care what you think because you're just a salesman, okay? So don't tell me my objection don't make sense. But when you say, well, I hear what you're saying, but, and you say something reasonable, then your customer's like, well, okay, that makes sense. This salesperson's reasonable. It makes sense why they want to do this or why they want to do that. Okay, I'm going to listen to them. And you're going to drop the defenses of your potential customers and clients, and they're going to trust you more, and then it's going to be easier for you to move on to the next step. Okay, so while you're out there on your dealership and you're talking to your customers and you're getting walk-in leads and you're getting phone leads and you're setting appointments, and you're doing what you got to do to get the activity that you need to get the amount of write-ups you need to reach your income goal, remember these 4 things. Set your intentions early. Explain your buying process. Find your customers' rewards by asking who, what, when, where, why, and how. 100% write-ups, and close towards your customers' rewards and emotions. And 4, overcome objections by looping back. Thank you for being a part of the Sell More, Live More webinar. Now, for just making it through this sales training, we're going to give you a fast action coupon code for 50% off of the full sales training program. Now, in the full sales training Sell More, Live More program, it's over 50 videos large of everything that we've talked about in this webinar and more. It's going to teach you everything you need to know from A to Z throughout the sales process so that you can close more deals and so that you can sell more products so that you can live more. So if you want to take advantage of that fast action coupon, go to our website. The link's going to be somewhere in this video or the description. Click on the link and use the coupon code ACTION. Again, the coupon code is ACTION. And when you use the coupon code ACTION, you're going to get 50% off the full Sell More, Live More sales training program. That way you can train day in and day out so that you can get better at your dealership sales. So if you want to take action and you want to get closer to that income goal, click on the link in the description or in the video or wherever that link is. Use the coupon code ACTION and go get 50% off the Sell More, Live More program so that you can be selling more so that you can live more.